Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is your host, King Gio. Well, I want to apologize for me taking such a sabbatical. As you all know, my brother passed away last week, last Sunday to be in fact, and that's the one you see. That's him right here. His name is Ray. Um, 41 years old. He just turned 41 in October the 9th. I was at work. But I just want to apologize for not being on YouTube for such a long time. I've got a job, and my job hours are 10 hours a day. And like I said before, I was going to do at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, depending on what time I got home. I was going to do a live every day. So that's going to start. But I just wanted to refocus on my thoughts, and I want to refocus on everything that's has been happening for this past week and a half. All this is consuming. It's overwhelming, should I say? Um, this was unexpected. Something that I, of course, didn't foresee. And I want to talk about a little bit about this because it's very, very important. Before I go any further, I want to say thank you to all those who have given me the condolences, who took their time to say, King Gio, my condolences to you. And I want to make this this video not only for my brother, but for everybody that has lost a loved one because of an overdose. My brother, even though he was 41 years old, I thought, not I thought, I knew that it was some Melissa. I knew that my brother, deep down inside, was changing. My brother has had a drug problem since he was in his 20s. You know, um, I think it was for the past 15 years. My brother really started hitting the needle. My brother started off with weed. That was his thing. It was weed, and I'm not gonna hear. I'm not gonna say here that a lot of people say that you start with one thing and you lead to another. That's not true. Um, I know many people that just smoke weed and stay in weed. That's it. I know a lot of people that do coke and they don't do anything else. But then there are those who are my brothers who experiment beyond the weed and the coke. And my brother was never a cokehead, so he never did coke. But he got hooked up into to heroin, and he was fighting. He really. That was his struggle. No matter how much, no matter how clean he got, no matter how clean he got, he always fell. Um, and that's the part that hurts the most. A statistic just came out the other day that over 100,000. That's right, Melissa. Over 100,000 people have overdosed alone this year on fentanyl, and that is sad. But the funny thing about it is, I'm going to tell you the story how my brother passed away, which is an irony in itself. And this is why I want to. I have another channel, it's called Theo Gio. I want to put some there in Spanish too because I want this to reach out how the system in Puerto Rico works. That's why you had the hashtag Puerto Rico and the system works. So my brother was going through a lot of, he had a lot of demons. My brother was, he was 5 years in prison. When he came out of federal prison, the first thing he did was he went straight to drugs. So that that is no longer an addiction. Now that becomes an addiction. It becomes to a disease because that's all your mind thinks about. Um, my brother had admired me because I've been 8 years sober. He's asking many times, Gio, how have you done it? And it takes will. It's not easy, guys. It's not easy. I was an alcoholic for 25 years. I drank every day. I got shakes. I got delirium. I got seizures because I stopped. I heard voices at one time, and it was hard. It really, 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 really was hard. And and I told him all you have to do is just try. Do it one day at a time. One day at a time. That little face that you see right there, that face, this face right here. I mean, it was all he knew was that. And I do believe that he tried, but it was just the people he hung out with, the which is very, very important when you are you're sobering up, or you want to be clean, you have to get away from the people that you were hanging out with. You have to do those things that AA and NA teaches you, people, places, and things. Those you have to follow it to the T. To the T, you have to do that. When you are, I'm going to give you a scenario. When you're in jail, you always say to yourself, "Oh, when I get out, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." Being in jail is easy. The easy part is in jail. That's easy because you're in jail. You got no temptation. Because do they have drugs in jail? Yes, they do, but it's expensive. It's more expensive in jail than it is outside. So the chance, if you were doing 100, 200, or if you're doing maybe $50, $60 a heroin in the streets, you're not gonna be doing that in jail because you don't got the means to do that. You don't have to hustle. Then like if outside, you go outside, you boost a store, you steal $100 worth of merchandise, and you sell 100 for 20 or 30. It's not. It's hard unless someone's bringing in money from the outside and putting money in your books. So it's hard. Not saying it can be done, but it's hard. It's harder. But there is more drugs outside than there is inside, literally. And so when you're in there, it's kind of hard. So when you come outside and you come into the real world, that's when it starts hitting you, because now you're all over. Like alcohol is easy because alcohol is legal. So you could, with $1 or $2 or even 50 cents, depending on where you live at, you can get yourself a small beer. So the reach of alcohol for you, the chances of you relapsing from alcohol is much more easier than it is from drugs, because you have to, like I said, 50 cents, $1, it's easy. So it's legal. You can go to the store, you can liquor store, and you can get it. As far as heroin is concerned, it's kind of harder because now you have to come up with $10. You have to come up with $20 or whatever the bag is in your state, right? Whatever it is. So you have to hustle for that money unless you already have it in your pocket. So it's kind of harder. So that's the test, is when you come out. And if you go back to the same place where you were at, or if you go back to your neighborhood and you start hanging out with the same people you were hanging out with before, you're going to go back to the same place you were before. And I told my brother many times, I said, "Yo, Ray," we call him Pito. I said, "Yo, Pito, ain't you afraid that one day you're just going to get stuck on that needle?" And he's called me plenty of times that, "Yo, I want to do what I do. Yo, just stay off of it." I try to give him advice. But he was doing good. He was doing good at the last time. He had a job. He was working with my cousin in Puerto Rico. They had a partnership that was going to open up a little business. A gardening business. He was doing great. Yes, he was. He had a girlfriend at that time. It was toxic. The relationship was toxic from the beginning. He used. That was no good. They got into an argument. She took out an order of protection out of him. He never hit her. He never did anything. But because he cursed at her, now check this out. Because he cursed at her, that is considered verbal abuse. So automatically the courts gave him gave her an order of protection. So this happened twice. This girl came back to the States. My brother brought her back. So on the second time, there was an order of protection. He was on house arrest. He was doing good for 10 months. 10 months. He got a pre-sentence investigation, and the pre-sentence investigation came out negative because he had warrants out here in the States. But the warrants in the States, one was in North Carolina and one was in Wisconsin. Both states said they're not going to go pick him up. So he was there for 30 some odd days, and then he went to a drug program, which is called what's it called in Puerto Rico? I forgot. I'm naming too many things in my head. It's on the tip of my tongue. Hogar, Crea. So Hogar, Crea is like a halfway house, but Hogar, Crea is a place where the court sends you to, and you're there. You're living in a quarter, but you get to go outside. You're outside. You don't get to leave the compound until your privileges. You got to gain privilege. You got to gain access, right? So my brother was there. They offered him 13 months, which I would have taken 13 months because he's an old schooler, but he wanted to be outside. And so he was doing good. And he was there for a month and a half, by the way. and they gave him the privilege to drive the van because he had a license. So he drove the other guys to go to get their methadone, which is maybe 2 minutes to 3 minutes away. And these 2 to 3 minutes away, that's where he met a guy that he knew from around the way, and that's when it all started. And and he asked for some money from family members. They gave it to him, and the guy came, bought some drugs, and in this compound, drugs were introduced to the compound. So that day, which was last Sunday, um, four of them decided, my brother included, it was three, and my brother did four, decided to do drugs. They bought 2 bags, from what they said, 2 bags of fentanyl, 2 bags of heroin, and synthetic marijuana. They did it. One guy tipped over the floor. They gave him Narcan. My brother sat on a chair, and I know this because I spoke to the director the day after I got to Puerto Rico. I spoke to the director. So I wanted to find out what really did happen, and he said, "Well, your brother was sitting there on the couch, and when they called rec, it's over him, and they touched him. He didn't do anything. His hand just slumped over." But they said that before that, the person that was next to him, when they say, "Yo, Raymond, you're Ray, you okay?" He was like, "Yeah." And they said, "You're Ray." Again, like 5 minutes later, "You okay?" He was like, "Yeah." And then they said that he shook like this. They said that he shook like this, and that's when he went out. And then once they did the wreck, and they called the ambulance, they did Narcan, but it was just too late. The reason that I am mad is because you are in an institution where there's not supposed to be any drugs whatsoever going in this institution. Now, mind you, this place, Hogar Crea, when you go inside, from what my parents tell me, they check you everywhere. They check your underwear, they check your purse, they check everything. They make sure that you're not introducing drugs at all. All right. So here comes this guy that my brother knows. He introduces the drugs because he throws it through the back of the building to the yard. And that's how they got the drugs. So when I spoke to the director, I said, don't you guys got security? Well, yeah, we got cameras. What about the back? Oh no, we don't got no cameras in the back. Now, mind you, most of these institutions are run by ex-cons. They're run by ex-addicts. So these ex-addicts know the drill. When you go to jail and you go to rec and you come back from rec, you get checked. All right. They make sure you're not bringing nothing back from rec. They make sure, and let's just say, even if they don't check you, or let's say even if they don't check you, you have security in rec, making sure there's no fights, even though there are fights. Make sure there's nobody's making shanks, even though there is shanks, stuff like that. But you have security there, So if you know that you are amongst addicts and alcoholics, and they're in the yard, you're supposed to have someone in that yard. You don't let them out in the yard by themselves. You don't do that because you know for a fact that if given the chance, one of them or two of them or three of them will have the opportunity to introduce some drugs, right? Some, not all, some. And if you know that the back of your institution is the weakest spot, then you should install cameras. Even though but you should install some security. You're supposed to install. You're supposed to have some sort of security in that back way, and they didn't. And that's the part that I am angry at the most. Okay, because you have some people who don't want to go to prison, so they decide they want to go to a drug program because they're outside, right? So their intentions are malicious to begin with because they figure, I'm going to be in the drug program, I'm going to still get high. I guess some of my boys should bring me drugs, and be all right. It beats being in prison. And then there are some legitimate person who really wants to go to a program because they really want to get rid of that demon. They want to be clean. They want to be sober. So you have those who are legit and those who are not legit. And that's what my brother did. My brother was with those who were not legit. They sold my brother as a pawn because my brother was very sincere. My brother was very kind, and he always dressed up, nice. So when they start talking to you, they start exchanging how they became addicts. And my brother was one of those that you popped, you talk drugs to an addict, you open up a vein for them, like, oh yeah, really, 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 you know, and that's what must have happened to my brother, and he just got caught. My brother didn't know how to say, nah, man, I'm not in for this, he talked the good talk, he really did. He was like, yo, G, I'm gonna change, yo, G, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I was doing good, and that's what he should have thought. He should have said to himself, you know what? Because I spoke to him a few months ago, and I said, you know what? Look at all the people who have died. Look at all the people who have overdosed of drugs, and you're still alive. That time he was 40. You're still alive. So take that and run with it. You already had your time. Okay, I say quotation behind you had time because you already enjoyed time. You already had a good time. Whatever it is, if you consider it going down like this every day, if that was your good time, then so be it. But take this time, take this opportunity that you're alive, that you survived overdose, what I gave me. Take that to your advantage and run with it and do the things that you couldn't have done before. Because sobriety, being clean and being sober is the best thing there is in the world. Trust me, I know because I've been through it for 8 years. I've been sober for 8 years. And when my brother told me that my brother passed away, I'm not going to lie to you. The thought of drinking just went through my head. I wanted to grab that beer. I wanted to grab anything. But as soon as that, just as quick as that thought went in my head, that thought came back out. Because that minute right then and then, I realized I'm not going to throw away 8 years of sobriety for something that I'm not in control of. If I start drinking, everything that I have, my house, my job, it all goes to ruin. And I'm not going to let that go. And my brother and many people like my brother don't know how to do that. And I wish he knew. I wish that he knew how to do that. I really do. But back to the lack of security. There should have been some security at that yard. Right? Because if there was security at the yard, I guarantee you they wouldn't have done what they did. And this is not just Hogar Crea in Puerto Rico in one place. This was the Hogar Crea in Caguas, Puerto Rico. All right. There are hundreds of Hogar Creas in Puerto Rico to help. This is to help those who are addicts and alcoholics. But this is not the first time that an addict has died in there. A person has died in there. This is like the third or fourth time, from my understanding. I don't know if it's true. From my understanding. So where is the security? Where is the government in all this? Me personally, if I was the mayor of that town of Caguas, which is Marin, I would have said, wait, what's going on in that program that I had one overdose? Why? Never mind two. I wouldn't even let it get to two. Why did someone overdose in this program? And that's the funny thing, is that you die. How can you die in a program? How can you overdose? How can you? It's like dying in alcohol in a. How can you die in a program that's supposed to help you? That's the funny part that I find about this. My brother didn't die shooting up in the streets. My brother didn't die in a house. He died in a freaking program that's supposed to help him. All right. So where is the security? What is supposed to be? You go, two people going to the yard. Well, you know what? You have security going to the yard. You have someone going in them, someone that that's going to be trustworthy. You just don't let anyone go in the yard and say, you know what, this is one of the person that might overlook things. No, you let someone with confidence go there, and you see something wrong, yo, come over here, you do something. All right. But that was not done. So if I would have been the mayor, I would have been the governor, one overdose is enough. I want to know, why did that person overdose in this program? And for whatever reason, this person dropped overdose in this program, we're going to correct this. All right. But no, this program, this place had, from my understanding, had 3 people already overdosed in that program. For how long of a period of time, I don't know the lapse, but that's what I heard. So, I mean, that means that they might care, but they just don't care enough. The director of the company, the director of the program, spoke to my dad in the funeral home. Oh, my brother had this, my brother had that. And my dad, God bless his soul, my dad almost collapsed Because my brother's is only that's my stepdad. My brother is from my brother from my mother's side because my mother married my stepdad. And that's his only son because his other son passed away 20 some odd years ago. So he's the only one he had. And if you would have seen I want to cry now, but I'm trying to hold my tears. If you would have seen my dad, I mean, I thought my mom was going to be the one that we had to hold, but my dad was the one that was crying and like it was just so hard because here you got this man talking to my dad about what my brother took, what my brother had in his what drugs he had. Instead of telling my dad, we could have done a better job. We're gonna do a better job for people, for these things not to happen to people. I don't care what drugs my brother did. That's irrelevant. I don't care if he shot up 20,000 pounds of fentanyl. I don't care about that. Don't be telling me what my brother did. Tell me how you going to prevent this. He overdosed with fentanyl. Enoch, tell me how you going to prevent this. Because my dad, if I show you videos of my dad's diabetic. My dad is 77 years old. My dad couldn't even stand up. You know, he was crying. And when they closed the casket, he was crying. And here you got this director saying, this is, your son was with this, your son was that. And then in one part, he told my dad, if you saw something different when your son, you should have told me and I would have done something. You little fuck. My father doesn't have to tell you what my brother's doing, what it can be. That's your job. Your job is to notice when these people are acting differently. And when you're acting differently, then you say, you know what? Come here. You're Ray. I've been watching you that you've been doing things differently and you change your mood and this. So from now on, you're not allowed in the yard. From now on, I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep an eye on you. I'm gonna restrict you from this. That's what you do. You don't tell my dad. You don't tell no. That's stupid. I don't want to hear that shit. What I want to hear is what are you gonna do? And that was the hardest part for me, watching my little brother in that casket. I was not gonna go. I really was not gonna go to the wake, but I wanted to give respect. I wanted to say goodbye to my brother for one last time. He was the last one. He's 41 years old. He's the baby of the family. He's supposed to be the last to die. But that didn't happen. And I've called several lawyers in Puerto Rico to sue, not for monetary reasons, because I don't care about the money. I don't want money. I just want some sort of justice. I don't want no one going to jail. What I really want is for more. Yes, and the fentanyl is getting out of hand. I just want these institutions to be more vigilant. I want these institutions to be held responsible because you're working with people who are addicts and you want them to do good. But how can you do good if you're not watching them? How can you not watch my brother and 3 other guys go in the yard and get drugs? How can you not see that? And then they say that they said that they shot twice. So that means that when you saw me, this is what they told my father. They told my dad that my brother shot up once in the morning, and then he did it again at nighttime. So what the fuck were you doing in the morning time? Because you know that once you shoot up, you're like this. You gonna tell me that none of your fucking employees saw my brother like that, or saw any of the other three other guys like that drugged up? You gonna tell me you didn't see that shit? And they drugged up again at nighttime. So where the fuck is your security? Where the fuck is the people here? Where is staff? Where is staff? And that's the part that gets me angry the most. Don't tell my father what my brother had, but tell my father, I am sorry, we fucked up. We should have done our job. We should have done our due diligence. We should have been there. We should have been the first time that your son or these kids or these men shot up the first time. We should have stopped it right then and then. No, but they did this twice in one day. So where is staff at? And then they know the person who took the drugs there, and he's still out there. So that person should go. That person should go to jail just for having the drugs and delivering the drugs. But you think that the police in Puerto Rico care? No. Like I said, I called several lawyers to see if we can sue. And like I said, I don't want money. I want these places to be more held more responsible. And lawyers like, oh, my lawyer don't take those kind of cases. But I think they're afraid because these are run by the state of Puerto Rico, by the island, and they don't want to sue the government of Puerto Rico for whatever reason. They're afraid. But that's what I want to do. I want to give awareness to what's going on in these places in Puerto Rico. Okay, because I can understand you shoot up one time and then people respond to that, and then staff says, you know what, this guy got a hand, you guys gonna go to rehab. And you take them out to rehab right there and then. Yes, this happened in Puerto Rico. This happened in a program called Hogar, Crea in Caguas. So, that's what you should do. Because when I went there the following day, one of the directors told me that the other three, the one that got Narcan and the other two guys, they went to detox. All right, they went to detox. But my thing is that if you know from what they told you, from what you heard, is that these four individuals shot up twice. That these four individuals did this twice in the course of one day. Why weren't they be? What happened the first time? No one noticed that they were high the first time. No one. No one in the facility found out or knew that they were high. The minute, this is me, guys. If I was director there, or if I was staff member, and I saw someone that was high, I would call the ambulance. I would send that individual to the hospital. I would send that individual back. I would send that individual to detox. And you're in the program there because the court sent you there. And if you violate that program by using, you go back to jail. And that's what it should have happened. But it didn't. They let this go to another level. They let these four people, which includes my brother, which is three of my brother, which is four. They let these four people shoot up twice, not one, but twice. Right? And this is according to the director. They didn't just tell me, told my dad at the funeral that my brother shot twice. So where were they the first time they shot up? Okay, because they said that one of the guys talked and they said this is what happened. But we all know. If you don't know, I'm gonna tell you. Most of these people, not most, all of them, when they shoot up, they shot up because they're like this. That's just the way they are. Or if they're standing still, they'll touch ground. If they're sitting down, they're just not sitting down like this. They're like this. So that they're high on something. So why didn't staff, the minute that happened the first time, where was staff? Why didn't staff stop them? Why didn't staff say, you know what, all four of you guys violated the code here. All four of you guys are going to go to detox. And once you get from detox, the court is going to handle you appropriately. Let them manage you because we already gave you a shot here. You're not doing it. Had they done that, my brother would still be alive. And my brother would gladly would have done 12 months. He would have done a year in jail because he's old school. He wouldn't have cared. We put it this way, my brother I can guarantee you, my brother probably did drugs while he was in prison. Right? He probably did drugs while he was in prison. Right? And he was outside, he did drugs, and he didn't die. He didn't OD. But he OD in a fucking program, guys. In a program that is made to help people out. And that's the messed up part about it. And that's why I want to bring consciousness. You know what? That
100,000 people have died of fentanyl alone, overdoses this year in the United States, the most of ever, the most. So you have you have the United States of America sued, or some company sued Johnson & Johnson, whatever company is, because of the opiates, right? Because people were they were all ODing opiates, and you have these people making fentanyl, and there's nothing happening. If you get caught with a bag of meth, you're doing it a long time. I think it's time to do the same thing for the people who are selling fentanyl. That is true. You are. Yep, you're absolutely correct. You said people need to stop worshiping death and start caring more about people. People care more about how they're passed than they do people. Shit is sad, bro. It is, bro. It is. I mean, people, you know, the thing with when people are in this stage, they say to themselves, "Oh, once a drug addict, always a drug addict. We're not gonna care about him. He's gonna stay that way." Blah 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 blah. And when the person dies, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sad. If he would have done this, if he would have done that. Yes, if he would have done this, he would have done that. This little boy right here, this little, because he has a baby face, but he's 40. He was 41 years old. If he would have done the things he was supposed to do, he'll be still here. You know, he'll still be here. But there's a lot of people staying off of drugs and staying off of alcohol. It's not an easy thing. It is hard. Trust me, I did 25 years of drinking. I'm 8 years sober. It's hard. I know it must have been hard for my brother. I know it must have been hard for him to wanting to stop, because when he was alone, when he was with my cousin, when he was working with my cousin, he was not using at all. He was not using at all. And then when he went back to jail because his pre-sentence investigation came back messed up because of child support, that mind you, because of child support too. So he was there for 30 days. He was like, look at me, I'm doing the best that I can, and the system still wants to fuck me over. All right, the system still wants to fuck me over. Yes, he had 2 warrants for the arrest here in the United States, which was ones in Philadelphia, I mean, North Carolina and Wisconsin. But those warrants were misdemeanors. They even told the courts, we're not going to go pick him up. We're not wasting our time to go fly all the way to Puerto Rico for some stupid shit. So the judge could have said, you know what, Mr. Raymond, that was my brother's name, Raymond, you have been an example. You have been on house arrest for 10 months, 11 months, going to a year. You have not given one positive. All of your drug tests have come out negative. You are working. You bought yourself a truck. You are working. You are working for my brother. He was working towards, a company with my cousin. Lawnmowing. You're working. So I see your progress. I see your progress. So there's no need, if North Carolina and Wisconsin is not going to pick you up, there's no need for me to keep you in the system. I'm just going to keep you on house arrest until they figure out a plea bargain. That was the natural thing to do, right? But they didn't do that because they didn't do that because of a bad report, because he had child support owed from years ago. His daughter's 19 years old from years ago. So because of that child support, mind you, they didn't look at the 11 months that he did clean. They didn't look at the 11 months that he did that he had a job. They didn't look at the 11 months that he did that he was supporting himself. All right. The 11 months that he was taking care of my parents, because my parents are 71 and 77. What he did, they didn't look at it. The judge didn't see that. All the judge fucking saw was his child support from my niece that's 19 years old now. Because of the child support, the judge says you cannot, you're not, you don't qualify for house arrest. So we're gonna take you off house arrest and we're gonna arrest you, and we're gonna see what kind of deals you make. The first deal they gave him was 13 months. He said, "I'll take 13 months," but they found out he could do the program. But he really wanted to be outside with my mom. He really wanted to be outside with his job. Because my brother always worked, despite of what he did. He always worked. That's the one thing I admired about him. He always worked. But the system failed him. The system. Now, mind you, Puerto Rico has fucked up laws as it is. All right. Puerto Rico, at one given time, maybe until 2 years ago, If you had a bag of weed, they give you 3 years in prison. 3 years. Puerto Rico don't have county jails. When you get arrested, you go straight to prison until your until your until your trial, or you cop a plea until you get sentenced, or your charges are dismissed. There is no county jail. You gotta go through some bureaucracy bullshit. You gotta just sit down and they read you the inmates read your charges, and they find out if your charges are against a minor, if your charges are against the elderly, if your charges are against abuse, you cannot live in that confine. You have to go on to another jail, and they'll tell you you gotta go to another jail. You can't live here. You cannot live here, or they'll literally kill you. All right, that's what they will do. So with all the good things that my brother didn't count that. Like I was saying, so you would have gotten caught a few years ago with a bag of weed. You do 3 years. Now you drive drunk and you kill someone. They give you 3 years probation. 3 years probation. All right. Domestic violence, forget about it. If you're a woman and you're domestic violence, there is no justice for women for domestic violence. There isn't. The murder rate, the conviction of murder rates in Puerto Rico is stupidly low. You can literally get away with murder in Puerto Rico. Not because there's a lack of policing or there's a lack of detective. It's because the people don't cooperate on talking to the police because they don't trust the police. The people don't cooperate. Look at Hector Camacho. He died a few years ago, 15 years ago. They still haven't found his murder. There have been hundreds of thousands of people who have died in Puerto Rico. I would put it this way: look at the statistic in Puerto Rico right now. Google it and Google how many deaths there were last year. I think there was maybe like 607. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. Puerto Rico's. All right, homicide. Okay. So let's go like this. This is given by habitat. But let's just say I'm gonna shoot out numbers. Basically, these numbers are are basically the same in most of the years. Okay. So I'm gonna go with a rough number. Let's say last year was 780 murders in Puerto Rico. Let's just say 780 murders. And out of those 780 murders in Puerto Rico, I can guarantee you maybe between 10 to 15% were solved. The rest are unsolved. That's a guarantee. Puerto Rico, if you look, and I'm not lying to you. Let me see. Okay. A few years ago, if you look at the crime, there was a young man by the name of Lorenzo. Okay, they call him Boy Lorenzo. This boy was 5 years old. His mother, Ana Maria Cacho, was in her house doing crack cocaine, was drinking with three other people, her and three other people. One of them was an FBI agent, right? This kid, her son died when the coroner's off when the cause of death was homicide. She said that the kid fell from the bed. The bed's maybe like this big, 4 to 5 feet high. But this had open wounds here, knife wounds here, knife wounds here. His nose is broken, his jaw was broken, his collarbone was broken. That's not from a fall. They try to cover it up. To this day, no one's been arrested. She did drugs in her house. 2 years ago, the statute of limitation for endangering the welfare of a child was out. So she can no longer be charged because of that. Now, a woman who lives in the projects in Puerto Rico abandons her child, goes to the store for whatever reason, she gets arrested and she gets child abandonment and endangering the welfare of a minor. She gets charged with that, but not Ana Maria Cacho. She doesn't get charged. Why? Because she has family members who work in the Department of Justice of Puerto Rico. The FBI agent never got charged. Mind you, they're in a home smoking crack. No one got caught. No one got arrested. 3 years ago, they tried to blame a man with one arm. They call him a manco. They tried to press charges on him. They took him to trial. And when they took him to trial, they were going to take him to trial. They said there's not sufficient evidence enough. They're trying to say that this man killed this kid. And he has one hand, bro. Because the manco means that you got one hand or one foot. They're trying to say that this man killed his kid and then try to climb a wall, a 10-foot wall with one fucking hand. People saw that, say, are you stupid? They're trying to blame someone. Was he there? Yes, he was there too. But they're trying to blame him. They didn't try to blame Ana Maria Cacho. They didn't try to blame the FBI agent. They didn't try to blame anyone. But they tried to blame him. All right. She didn't go to jail for endangering the welfare of a minor. She took the kid to the hospital. They cleaned the bed. They cleaned the car. They did a lot of cleaning before they took the kid to the hospital. And this son, her son had open wound, jaw, everything was broken. This is not from and then her two daughters were given to the father. So this just tells you how the system is. Before I left from Puerto Rico, in the town called Peñuelas, there was a lady who had an order of protection on her husband. The man comes knocking at the door. She calls 911. She's screaming to 911 that my husband's at the door. He wants to kill me. They stood on the phone for 45 minutes. I'm not lying to you. You can look it up. For 45 fucking minutes. Right? The officer of the town said, the officer on the 911 call said, we cannot send officers to her house because the officers who are outside are giving tickets to cars. They're literally giving tickets. So she couldn't call, dispatch couldn't call and say, there's a violation of order of protection. I need an officer to go to the house. Now, mind you, Puerto Rico has two sorts of cops. You got municipal, which takes care of your municipal, and then you have state, that they can go from county to county, but municipal cops can only go from in that municipal. So you're going to tell me out of the municipals and out of the state, no one could have gone to the house. But after 45 minutes, this man knocked the door down and stabbed her, no shit, 72 times. That's how the justice in Puerto Rico sucks. And I want to be able to get justice, not just for my brother, because I wouldn't want another family member to go through this again. Because here you are, you're thinking that your son and your daughter is in a drug program, that your son and daughter is in a safe place, that your son and daughter is getting the medical attention, who is getting the professional attention, so that when this person comes out, your son and daughter, they can be sober, they can be clean, and they know how to fight their addiction. They know how to fight their temptations. That's what you hope for. You don't hope for a director to tell you what the fuck your son or daughter took. That angered me so much. You're telling my father what my brother took. Why don't you tell my father we fucked up? We should have handled this. We should have handled this in a different way, but we didn't. And I'm sorry for your loss. He won't say that because he knows that the minute he says that, the minute that he admits that there was a failure in vigilance, he loses everything. He's open up to a big ass lawsuit. And like I said, I don't want a lawsuit. I don't want money. I want justice. I want these programs to be held accountable. I want the people to be held accountable, and I want people doing their jobs. That's what I want people to do. Just because like I said before, these programs in Puerto Rico called Hogar Crea, they're run by ex-inmates. They're run by people who were ex-addicts and who were alcoholics. They're run by them. They're the directors because they're the ones that know best. You don't want to hire someone from the street that just graduated college for the degree and just everything that they know is just by books. It's because what they read. You want someone that's been there. You want someone that has the experience, that's been through the drug business. I mean, to the drug problem, that's been through alcohol abuse. That's the one you want running your place. A friend of mine runs a halfway house in Chicago, and he was an ex-addict, and he is strict in his halfway house. He is strict. If he smells alcohol on you, you're out. If he sees that you're using drugs, you're out. You can't put past. You cannot put one past him because he knows the game. So you want someone that had that kind of, that has been through that to run your place. So you hire that person. But come on, you gotta be more vigilant. I ask you, where is your security? Do you have security? You tell me, yeah, I got security in the front. What about the back? No, I don't have any security in the back. So you know that's your weak spot. Why don't you have security there? Why is it that when these kids or when these men, I'm keep saying kids, when these men go out in the yard to play or to recreate or to sit in the sun, there should be someone there with them. Even if it's one person that's going out to the yard, then there should be a guard being with that person. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Because you know why? Because they're addicts. You don't leave an addict alone in no given time. You have rules. You go to the room. You guys are going to watch TV. You watch TV at a certain time. You follow rules because in any given time you can relapse. In any given time, and that's what you don't want. And then you see the strange person that you've never seen before in your compound going through the back, throwing drugs, and you don't say nothing, or throwing something, and you don't say nothing. Really? And that's what angers me. And then I call lawyers to find out if we can sue. And I keep telling them, I don't want money. I just want these programs to be run the right way. Because money's not going to bring my brother back. All right? Money's not going to bring my brother back. So I don't need your money. Do I want you fired? No, I don't want you fired, because if I get you fired, you probably relapse, and I don't want you to relapse. What I want is more vigilance. I want people doing their jobs. That's what you get paid for, to do a job. If you cannot do that job, then you get out. Let someone who can. Let someone who's willing to do their job. Let someone do it the right way. That's all I ask. I ask for the government to get involved and say, you know what? Why are these people overdosing? Why is there drugs entering the system? Because now the penal system in Puerto Rico, now from what I understand, there is no more physical contact. Now it's all virtual, which is a good thing because it eliminates the bringing in the drugs. There's still going to be drugs being brought in anyway because you're going to have corrupted officers. So that's going to come in. Drones, that's going to come in. Because in Puerto Rico, that's how they do it through drones. So there will always be drugs in the system, but it'll be less. And if you're in a program like Hogar Crea, which is much smaller than a prison itself, which it's way smaller, so you have more of a control. Not like a prison system that you have one officer for 10 inmates or for 20 inmates. That's different. Here in Hogar Crea, you have maybe 3 or 4 staff members for maybe 10, 20 people, if that. I don't know if there's that much in there, but if that. So you have more of a control. You have more control of the atmosphere. You have more control of the individuals that are there, and you have more say. Like I said before, if you caught them the first time, and you know how addicts get when they get high, then your job should have said, you take them out of that program and say, you cannot be in this program. You're going to have to go to detox. You call the ambulance. You send them to detox. You send the reports over to the courts. Listen, this Raymond was caught doing drugs. We had to administer Narcan to him. Now it's up to the courts, and the courts will say, "Well, Mr. Raymond, we gave you an opportunity. We gave you a halfway house. You chose to do drugs. Now I'm going to sentence you to a year or 2 years in prison. There's no way in F. There's no in and a way. There's nothing about it. That's it, right? So you could do that." And when my brother told me that they offered him 13 months, I said, "You're right. Take the 13 months. You're better off taking the 13 months because this way you don't owe anything to anyone, even though he is innocent." Now, mind you, like I said before the show, the order of protection that my brother got was because he cursed at his ex-girlfriend. He didn't hit her. He didn't touch her. He didn't yell at her. He just cursed at her. And by law in Puerto Rico, by cursing, there's a definition. That's a violation. That is verbal abuse. Just because of a curse. Now, here you are. You're the woman. You get the order of protection. 8 out of 10 times, the woman dies anyway. I'm sorry to say that because there is such a high domestic violence rate in Puerto Rico. There's a lot of killings with husband killing their wives, boyfriend killing their girlfriends. There's a lot of domestic violence in Puerto Rico, and the system does not do anything. They just give you an order of protection, and that's it. Plain and simple. Like I just gave you an example of that guy in Peñuelas. He stabbed his wife 72 times while she was calling 911, while she was on the phone with a dispatcher. And here's my brother who died in a fucking program. A program that was supposed to help him out. How is that? So if you guys know anyone in Puerto Rico that is a lawyer that is willing to take a civil case, no monetary gain, just the purpose for it is to let these entities know that they have families out there, that if our family members are in these programs, that we expect them to be watched, that we expect of our loved ones, like we expect my brother to have done the right thing. We expected that of him. But there's also the expectation that he could have used. All right. So you do 50-50, but we expect staff to be on their toes. We expect staff to catch on to these things. We expect staff to do their job. That's what we expect. That goes from here to Japan, to Russia, to Malaysia, to wherever the hell you have a drug program. Because this is getting out of hand. A person dies in prison in Puerto Rico, they don't investigate. Just another inmate that died. Who cares? A person dies of a drug overdose, it's another junkie. Who cares? Do you think that the police of Puerto Rico have gotten involved in this? You think the law in Puerto Rico has said, you know what? There's a person overdosed. Now check this out. This is not me going to a drug spot and me buying the drugs and me overdosing. So the police not gonna say anything because King Gio went to the spot. King Gio got the drugs, and we can't invest. We're not going to investigate that. But here comes King Gio is in a program. King Gio dies of a drug overdose. Now we have a case because who gave King Gio those drugs? How did King Gio get those drugs? So here I am, the police officer. I'm going to investigate. I'm going to find out who gave King Gio those drugs, even though King Gio paid for them. But he's in a program, so I'm going to find out who gave King Gio those drugs. Now, when I find out who gave King Gio those drugs, I'm going to charge that person for drug possession. And whatever other law applies to it in whatever state it is. That's just plain and simple. Like I said, you cannot You cannot file charges or you cannot press charges. If I bought them, if you catch me, yeah. But if I die from it, can't do nothing. But if it's in a program, that's a whole different story. And do you think that officers of Puerto Rico are going to do something? No. Do you think the law is going to do something? No. They're not going to do anything because in their eyes, it's just another junkie. And that is sad. And hopefully, people, if you can see this and you can help your loved one who's using drugs and is on heroin, it's on fentanyl, get them help. Get them help. Get them in a program. Make sure that they're in a great program. And all programs work. It's up to the individual. And for those who have people in Hogar Crea in Puerto Rico, just be careful. Don't send money to 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 that loved one. They say, "Oh, send me $10. I need $10 for this," and send me every day. Don't do that. There's a lot of warning signs. There's a lot of red flags that you know that your son or daughter is using when they're in a program. Um, Guys, and those guys, and everyone who watches this, and you're suffering right now, and you're going through, and this is your first day of sobriety, and this is your first day of being clean. Just take it one day at a time. Please stay away from people, places, and things. Those people you hung out with that you were doing drugs with or alcohol with, stay away from them. Wherever you was getting your drugs, stay away from that. Whatever you were doing from getting your alcohol, stay away from that because that's going to get you. People, misery loves company. So when you are clean and you are sober and that person that you were hanging out with sees you that way, they're going to say, look at this King Gio. He's sober now. I'm going to try to get him messed up. I'm going to see if he hits me up with a couple of dollars so I can use. Don't let them grab you. All right. Don't let that temptation get to you because it's going to be hard. Being in the streets, when a lot of temptations out there, it's going to be hard. But I have faith in you guys and you women, men and women. I have faith in you that you can overcome. But just always remember this: take it one day at a time. All right? No matter what happens, no matter how hard life hits you, don't use. Please don't use. Look at my brother, 41 years old. And he's one out of 99,999 people who passed away of a drug overdose. Thank you for watching.